Jai Shri Ram. So today, after a gap, I'm again starting. आप सबको अक्षय तृतीया की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं. अक्षय तृतीया की वजह से मैं रामायण पाठ नहीं कर पाई हूँ. अब मैं पूरी वीक का रिकॉर्डिंग करके रखूँगी. नाउ Canto 92. Canto 92, the summary is: questioned with folded hands about the road to Chitrakoot, Bharadwaj shows the way to Bharat and then enquires of him about the names of his three mothers who stood bowing down to the sage. Having told him the names of all three of his mothers with the history of each and commanding the army to get ready for the journey ahead, Bharat proceeds to Chitrakoot with his retinue. Now we begin. Having spent the previous night with his family at the hermitage of Bharadwaj, Bharat, to whom hospitality had been extended by the sage, approached Bharadwaj to take leave of him to proceed to Chitrakoot, so the tradition goes. Perceiving that tiger among men arrived with folded hands and having poured oblations into the sacred fire, sage Bharadwaj spoke to Bharat as follows: Tell me, O sinless one, was your night happily spent here in the hermitage of ours? Were all your men fully gratified with the hospitality shown to them? Folding his hands and bowing down low before him, Bharat replied as follows to the sage, who was invested with highest glory and had come out of the hermitage to meet him. I spent the night comfortably with my entire army and all my animals, and I with my army was fully sated by you, O venerable sir. Including every servants, we have all spent our time most happily, relieved of our fatigue and discomfort, richly supplied with food and drink, and lodged in excellent houses. I fervently entreat you, O venerable sir, pray, regard me, set out towards the presence of my elder brother with a benign look, O dwell among sages. Tell me the location of the hermitage of that pious and high-souled prince, O knower of what is right, and also let me know which route leads to it and how long it is. Questioned thus, Bharadwaj, for his part, who is endowed with exceptional glory and noted for his great asceticism, replied as follows to Bharat, who was eager to secure the blessed sight of his elder brother. At a distance 2.5 yojnas or 20 miles from here, in the midst of a forest uninhabited by men other than ascetics, there stands a well-known mountain named Chitrakoot, abounding in lovely caves and groves. Touching its northern side flows the river Mandakini, shaded by trees in blossom and hemmed with lovely groves laden with flowers. Leaving by the southern route, take the army full of elephants and horses along the bypath, turning to the left and proceeding southwards, O Lord of the army. Proceeding along this route, you will be able to behold Sri Ram, a scion of Raghu, O highly fortunate prince. Nay, hearing the talk going on about the journey to Chitrakoot, the consorts of the deceased emperor Kaushalya and others stood encircling the Brahman, leaving their chariots, even though they deserved to remain in their vehicles because of their sex, old age and high rank. Of them, Kaushalya, who was quaking through old age and emotion, was emaciated through grief caused by the loss of her husband and afflicted because of her separation from Sri Ram, whilst Queen Sumitra clasped the sage's feet with both her hands. Kaikeyi too, who was condemned by the whole world because of her ambition to see her son appointed as Prince Regent of Ayodhya, having not been fulfilled, clasped the sage's feet with bashfulness because of her having brought about the banishment of Sri Ram. Having gone round that venerable and eminent sage clockwise, she stood close to Bharat himself, sad at heart because of her designs having been frustrated on that occasion and the ignominy she had suffered. At that time, the eminent sage Bharadwaj spoke to Bharat as follows: I seek to know the particulars concerning your mothers, O scion of Raghu. Addressed thus by Bharadwaj, the pious Bharat, for his part, who was a master of expression, made the following answer with folded hands: the godlike Queen Kaushalya, the senior-most consort of my father, whom indeed you see here afflicted and emaciated through fasting on account of grief, O venerable sir, brought forth that tiger among men, Sri Ram, who takes gallant strides like a lion, even as Aditi gave birth to Upendra, Lord Vamana, so called because he was a younger brother to Indra. Here is the celebrated Sumitra, the middle queen of the king, stricken with agony, who stands disconsolate at heart, clinging to the left arm of Kaushalya and looking like a branch of Karnikara tree with withered flowers standing in the interior of a grove. Both Lakshman and Shatrughan, those two heroic princes of godlike appearance and unfailing prowess, are the sons of the great lady, godly lady. Know this irate, vain, vulgar, though noble to all appearance, and cruel Kaikai, my mother of uncultured mind and sinful resolve, who esteems herself good-looking and is covetous of power, nay, thanks to whose designs Sri Ram and Lakshman, the two tigers among men, have reached here and the end of their life in the form of exile in the forest, which is fraught with dangers at every step, while King Dashrath, having been deprived of his two sons Ram and Lakshman, has ascended the heaven, and whom I consider to be the root cause of the great adversity that has befallen me. Having uttered these words in a voice choked with tears and his eyes reddened through anger mixed with grief, that tiger among men began to draw a deep audible breath like a cobra hissing in wrath. To the said Bharat, who was speaking thus, Bharadwaj, the eminent sage, who was gifted with great intelligence and who knew everything, made the following answer. Kaikai, O Bharat, should not be regarded by you as guilty for this banishment of Sri Ram with result in happiness to all. In fact, good alone in this universe will result from the exile of Sri Ram to gods, demons and rishis who contemplate on the Supreme Self. Greeting the sage and going round him clockwise and taking leave of him, Bharat, for his part, who had achieved his object by coming to know the whereabouts of Sri Ram and receiving the benedictions of the sage, commanded the army in the following words: let preparations be made for the journey. Then, having joined the horses to their many excellent chariots, embellished with gold, the different kinds of people ascended them for the march. She elephants and male elephants, provided with girths of gold and flags, marched in body, distinguished by the sounds of bells, like thundering clouds at the close of summer. People drove in various highly precious conveyances, big as well as small, while those travelling on foot proceeded on foot. Then departed full of joy in excellent vehicles, ladies headed by Kaushalya, desirous as they were of seeing Sri Ram at that moment, ascending a lovely palanquin possessing the splendor of the midday sun and the full moon, and borne by 4 men, proceeded the glorious Bharat with the outfit of travelling. Full of elephants and horses, that huge army on its march looked like a vast cloud burst upon the view, enveloping the southern quarter. Traversing woodlands inhabited by deer and birds, and hemming mountains as well as rivers beyond the western bank of Ganga, flowing in a southerly direction, the army moved along, striking the hosts of deer and birds inhabiting that region with terror, while penetrating through that extensive forest in the precincts of Chitrakoot. The said army of Bharat, consisting as it did of overjoyed elephants and horses, looked charming on that spot. Thus ends Canto 92 in the AYODHYAKAND of the glorious Ramayan of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Now we come to Canto 93, the summary. Setting his foot on the soil of Chitrakoot with his army and camp followers, and identifying the place with the help of features pointed out by Bharadwaj, Bharat commands the army men to look out for the hermitage of Sri Ram. Pursuing their search, they perceive smoke at some distance, and concluding the site to be the hermitage of Sri Ram, Bharat enjoins his army to halt and makes up his mind to walk with Vashisht and others to that place. Hard pressed by that huge moving army, the leaders of herds of wild elephants and so on in rut ran away helter-skelter along with their herds. Bears, the leaders of spotted deer as well as deer without spots, known by the name of rurus, were seen running everywhere on the tracks of the forest, on mountains as well as along river banks, followed by a huge army consisting of 4 limbs, viz. Chariots, horsemen, elephants and foot soldiers, and full of noise caused by the rattling of chariot wheels, the neighing of horses and the trumpeting of elephants. Bharat, whose mind was given to piety, delightfully proceeded along with others in the hope of meeting Sri Ram. The army of the high-souled Bharat, which resembled the high tide of an ocean, overran the land even as cloud overspreads the sky during monsoon. Covered all over by hosts of horses and very mighty elephants, the ground at that time became invisible for a long period. Having covered a long distance, the glorious Bharat, whose animals were now fully exhausted, submitted as follows to Vashisht, the foremost of his counselors. From the topography of this region, as it is observed by us, as well as from what has been heard by me about it, it is clear that we have reached that area of which sage Bharadwaj spoke to us. Here is the Chitrakoot hill and there is the river Mandakini, and here comes into view the forest looking like a blue cloud from a distance. The lovely peaks of the Chitrakoot mountain are being trampled at present by my elephants, resembling so many hills. Shaken by the elephants, the yonder trees shed flowers on the hilltops, even as dark rain-bearing clouds pour water at the end of summer. Turning to Shatrughan, Bharat continued, "Behold, O Shatrughan, the region on the upper part of the mountain, frequented till now by Kinnaras, now overrun on all sides by horses, even as a sea is infested by alligators. Running with quick speed as urged forward by troops, these herds of deer look charming like masses of clouds sailing in the sky when driven by the wind in autumn. Like men of the south, these troops, distinguished by shields resembling clouds in hue, wear fragrant floral ornaments on their heads. Getting crowded with men, this forest, which was noiseless and wore a terrifying look till now appears to me like Ayodhya. The dust raised by the hoofs of the horses and other animals hangs over the sky. The wind blows it away quickly, as though doing a kindly act to me by making the landscape visible to me. Behold these chariots drawn by horses and controlled by the best of charioteers, advancing rapidly through the forest, eager as their occupants are to see Sri Ram, O Shatrughan. Behold these peacocks, which are so delightful to look at, and are gently frightened by the sight of the army, hastening thus towards the mountain, the abode of birds. This region appears most enchanting to me. This house of ascetics is clearly a road to heaven, O sinless one. Many spotted deer, accompanied by their hinds and endowed with enchanting forms, appear as though decorated with flowers. Let troops go forward in an unobtrusive manner and examine the forest, so that those two tigers among men, Sri Ram and Lakshman, may be found out." Hearing Bharat's command, gallant troops with arms in their hands entered the forest and presently saw a column of smoke rising at some distance. Clearly perceiving a column of smoke, they approached Bharat and submitted. There can be no fire in a place uninhabited by human beings. Evidently, Sri Ram, Lakshman and the two scions of Raghu dwell on this very spot. If the two princes, who are veritable tigers among men, and the scorchers of their enemy are not here. Obviously, there are other ascetics like Sri Ram on this spot. Hearing the aforesaid submission of the soldier, which was esteemed even by the pious men, Bharat, who was capable of crushing a hostile army, spoke to all those troops as follows. Let you remain vigilant where you are. You should not proceed further than this place. I shall go myself to meet Sri Ram, as also Sumantra and Dhriti, who two trusted ministers of King Dashrath. Commanded thus by Bharat, the troops thereupon remained stationed all round on that very spot, while Bharat fixed his gaze on the spot where a column of smoke was visible. Even though perceiving the place where Sri Ram was supposed to be ahead, the aforesaid army, which was held up on that spot by Bharat, felt rejoiced even then, anticipating as they did their meeting with their beloved Ram at no distant hour. Thus ends Canto 93 in the AYODHYAKAND of the glorious Ramayan of Valmiki, the work of a rishi and the oldest epic. Jai Shri Ram.